I'm still 100% believing that Chinese restaurant is money laundering.
I think the mall are money laundering.
Oh, dude, yeah, especially since they have like the criminal justice office there.
Long John Silver's was money laundering. They were only there to make money from like.
No one ever went there.
Yeah, they only made money from people being towed out of the parking lot, and now everyone parks there because it went out of business.
I just want to point out, it closed as soon as we moved across the campus. My joke is, because Tudor is mostly vegetarian but he eats fish, that would be the place he wanted to go for lunch because it was right there, they were quick. So the joke was that we kept Long John Silver's open because he kept going there. And then as soon as we moved across campus, they closed. That's my conspiracy theory. But if you go back and look at where Long John Silver's was, it's full of cars every single day. Like literally, they fill up like the drive-through. And I drove through there to get to Taco Bell, and like everything's full. Like you could barely get through there. And I was like, what the heck's going on? Did they reopen it? And I realized all the cars were empty, even the ones in the drive-through. And I realized they're just students parking there. But it's really weird because it feels like a post-apocalyptic thing because it's like all these empty cars, run-down building, you know. I mean, literally, there's just a car sitting in front of the drive-through. Like, that's kind of weird.
I wonder how some of them get out because sometimes, like in the drive-through, it'll be like 3.
Yeah.
Like,
All right. Okay, so let me go ahead and find. So what I want to do is do some texture painting for the clothing. Shouldn't be too hard, but I want to do again some printed texture painting, which is why I wanted to find some images that actually have the pattern, the cloth pattern that I want to use. So what I'm going to do is I need to find some textures that actually accommodate that. So there's 2 that I want to do, and I'm kind of pulling off of Red Dead Redemption 2's Dutch Vanderlyn. So he has a lot of times in the game he'll have like kind of like a paisley patterned vest that he wears, and then a black and red pinstriped pants. So I kind of want to pull those 2 patterns and put them on his pants and on his vest. So that's what I'm going to look for, is some paisley stuff, and see if I can get it. Which I'm really sorry if you guys hate paisley. I actually kind of love it deep down inside. I'm not even ashamed. That's not really paisley, that's more Hawaiian shirt. But I have a dress coat that has like a purple paisley liner inside. It's like my little secret. Except for everyone that's going to watch this video. Then they know.
I'm going to clip it the shirt everywhere.
This one looks pretty good. It's not really the color I want, but I think we can bring it into Photoshop and change that. But it looks like it patterns pretty well. So I'm going to take that and drop that into my source images. I like this. I'm going to have to crop out this one, the little ruler down here, but I can use that. Alright, let's go and do a color balance. See if we can get a little more red. There we go. That doesn't look good. Let's do. That's not bad. Pull that down. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, there we go. So I'll just keep that. And I want to see how well this thing will repeat. So let's go ahead and do an offset. Wrong layer. Of course red's going to repeat really well. It's just a solid color. Why wouldn't it repeat? I'm sitting looking at it, I'm pretty sure it'd be shifting somewhere. Okay. Let's try that again. It's not horrible. Like vertically, it's got some issues, but it's not that bad, and like, it kind of repeats. So that's, yeah, I think I can use that. All right. I'll save that. Where is my TIFF? There we go. Ooh, wrong place. I was trying to, why are you trying to open? I was trying to save you. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in the textures. So we'll go to texture. You can go either here or up to texture up here and load them from import. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to go to import, and we are going to go to our source images folder. Let's see, the pinstripe I still need to fix. Let's do, we'll bring that one in first. And let me fix my pinstripe. Crop that. Ooh, no, I still need to finish cropping. Okay, there we go. And then we'll go ahead and bring in the other one. Ta-da. right, so for spotlight painting, what we'll need to do is go ahead and select our texture that we've imported. So I'm going to go and grab that paisley one first, and then we need to go and activate spotlight painting. So in order to activate it, we need to add this texture to spotlight, which is going to be this button right here. Actually, these buttons just kind of just turn on and off spotlight, so you can turn it on and off here, but we need to add the texture, so we're going to click and activate spotlight by adding it from that button. Spotlight is kind of cool. It's both a sculpting tool and a painting tool at the same time. We can use it to basically sculpt in stuff like follicles and skin pores and all of that cool stuff into the actual texture of the skin or in the actual surface. But I'm not going to be doing that today. But if you want to do that, that's simply just making sure you have ZAdd turned on. But I'm not, so I'm just going to make sure and turn off ZAdd and turn on RGB. Okay? So RGB is only for doing color. You guys remember that from last class? Yeah? Maybe? No? Yeah. So spotlight, we have some controls here. We have this radial dial that we can kind of use to change different things if we want to. So we can rotate the image if we need to by clicking and dragging on this. We can change the scale if we want to. I kind of usually will bring it down just a little bit so I can see a little bit around it. We can pin spotlight to wherever the cursor is on the actual, wherever your pin is. That's useful in some cases and sometimes it's not. Like, it's kind of actually like clone stamping in a way if you do it that way, because it basically just resets your position. So you can turn it on and off the same way in Photoshop you can turn on and off resetting the position for clone stamps. So it's very similar to that. This is going to be your essentially your visibility. When you put your pen down on the surface, you're going to see like a little highlight of the texture. So that'll give you like a radius that you can change. We can just turn off or turn down the opacity of the texture if we want to, so we can see through it a little bit more easily. And then like right there, you see how as I'm dragging the little spotlight area right here, you can see like a little hint of that texture coming through a little bit more. So yeah, over here, if you want to change like color, color values of it, you can do that as well. There's a lot of other tools they've added. They've added more tools actually in the last couple versions of ZBrush, but usually when I'm working, I kind of just mess with these. Probably need to go through and mess with these more. I think these are more like just generic Photoshop tools that allow you just to kind of change just general stuff with the images, but whatever, it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to go ahead and have the pen turned on for now. In order to go ahead and go into Spotlight mode, because right now we're in the editing portion of Spotlight, I'm going to go ahead and hit the letter Z as in zebra. And you'll see that now I have the texture following my cursor. So just like that. Let's go ahead and select the jacket or the vest. I'm going to go and turn off his collar and the buttons just so we can see a little bit more easily. And so if we go ahead and maybe make this a little bit smaller. If we go ahead and just start painting, you'll see that we're basically just painting the pattern of his that we're using directly onto the fabric, which is kind of cool. You'll see I'm getting a little bit close to the edge, and if I go up to the edge, just like in clone stamping, so there we go. So now I just painted the whole image. But we get to closer to the edge, and so like down here, since I took my pen up off the surface, it resets the position. So now I'm back to the center of Spotlight, and so then I can kind of start painting in some of this. kind of blend it just a little bit. See that? So this is, having it pinned is really useful because then you don't have to worry too much about like losing your position. If you just need to reset, you pick it up and lay it back down. If you have a very specific pattern that you want to like wrap around, then what you're going to want to do, I'm going to hit Z again and go back into editing mode, is if you take off the pin, the image is going to stay right here. And so what I can do is I can essentially wrap the image around the character at this point. You'll see that when I pick up, it doesn't change. But then if I kind of roll it over here, you'll see that basically I'm continuing that same pattern as we go around. I do try to make sure that as I'm kind of rolling this thing around, I'm painting directly on the faces and not really like at a sheer angle. Because you'll see like when I'm painting here facing it, I get a pretty decent paint projection onto it. But when I paint at an angle, you'll see that we get a lot of smearing. So it kind of stretches. It doesn't look that good. So you want to make sure that you're rolling the image or rolling the model around so you don't get any weird changes in the model itself. This is the most flamboyant vest I've ever seen in my life. Which, honestly, it really doesn't matter because I got to paint half of this a different color anyhow. He is going to go to a Elton John concert and he's going to love it. Okay, so there you go. And that is projection painting. If you want to turn it off, hit Shift S, or Shift Z, I'm sorry, and it will turn off your projection painting, or spotlight, I mean. I'm going to go ahead and actually mask out half of the vest, because a lot of times men's vests will have a front and a back pattern. So usually like the back will be like a solid color, usually like a, not silk or something like that. So it's white, black, red, you know, whatever. Okay. So just masking off the half that I want to maintain. Let's go to masking. I'm going to actually sharpen my mask. Okay. And let's make it, I think, you know, to kind of match like this color, I'm going to go with like a deep, kind of almost black crimson. It's like I missed a little spot right there. So I'm going to turn back on spotlight real quick. And let's make the brush size. Let's go back to standard. Just fill that in. That looks good. You like it? Yeah. Ideally, honestly, I probably would not have symmetry turned on for this, because I feel like the paisley needs to be a little bit shifted from left to right, but you get the idea. It's like my shirt pattern is not perfectly mirrored. I don't think it's really mirrored at all, but it's the same pattern on both sides, so you still get it. All right, let's go ahead and copy this with the pinstripe pants. So let's do. We'll go back up to texture. I'm going to choose my pinstripe and I'm going to add that to spotlight. So I'm just going to move it down to the center. I'm going to change the hue actually. See if I can change it to like a red or something. I mean, it's mainly black and white, so I don't think I want to get a lot in there. Let's see. Is there a saturation? Yeah, there's a saturation. Okay, now I'm getting color. So let's go. Yeah, it's kind of reddish. Yeah, I think I'm getting some red values in there, so I can use that. I'll turn off the jacket. We'll just work with just the pants. Okay. Just kind of looking and seeing how the pattern should follow. The reason why it's doing this is because it didn't actually have any actual paint on the surface, so that's why we're getting this white hue, or this white outline. See, there we go. So this can be a little bit more difficult. See, it's not really matching up when we do need it to match up. So it might be a good idea to go ahead and do pinning the spotlight. And let's shrink that image just a little bit. Actually, let's bring it back up. Okay. So I do want to kind of get the stuff to kind of look a little bit better. There we go.
How did you tell the camera like that?
If you hold down Shift and then click and drag and release it a little bit, it'll allow you to rotate the camera side to side. Okay. So there we go. So I'm getting There should probably be a seam right through there, so I think I'll have to clean that up. But at least I'm kind of getting like a decent line right there. And actually, you kind of have to work with the zoom a little bit to kind of keep yourself at the same general distance. Otherwise, the scale can get kind of messed up a bit. I'm just trying to connect up some of the lines and get it to work. Brittany, did you have a question?
No, I'm sorry, I'm stressed.
Okay.
I don't.
Just turn off that body. All right. Okay. Just trying to line it up so I can keep painting around the bottom of the leg. You'll see that as I'm going, I'm kind of like just circling around, adjusting and repainting as needed. This dude has some seriously fat legs. I mean, he's got like meaty legs. I don't know why I feel like I'm just now realizing this. Okay. Okay. You okay?
Someone's really talking about you.
So popular.
Okay. Alright, so there we go. It's definitely not perfect, because like I really would love for like this just to be like a perfect texture, but I feel like I've gotten enough of this down to where you get the idea. This one definitely I think is a little bit tougher of a pattern to work with, even though it's a lot simpler. I mean, it's just a pinstripe, but you're trying to get everything to kind of follow along. So I think the paisley actually gives you a little bit more room to be messy. But this one you gotta line everything up a little bit better. But you get the idea. I mean, at first glance, you know, don't look at it too hard. Looks like pinstripe pants, which works. Except for the little white stains in his back of his pants. That's gonna bug me. Okay. Alright, so let's go and turn everything back on and see what it looks like. Oh my god, he is so dapper. I love him. There we go. It could be like a casino owner in, I don't know, a Zootopia Western.
I'd watch it.
I would too. All right. So there you go. What else? So I guess let's go ahead and get some of these maps out. So I've already gotten maps out for his skin, and I got a normal maps out for the skin. I need to get maps out for the vest, and actually I need to UV the vest. The vest is not even UV'd yet. And same thing for the pants. Pants aren't even UV'd either. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. So let's just go through the process, and you know, I'll show you how to do it in ZBrush. You're gonna be mad about how easy it is. So this is, the collar by itself is 12,000 faces. So I'm gonna go into, actually just quick save it real quick. And I'm gonna go into Z plugin. Always feel a little German when I say that. Let's go into Z plugin, and I'm gonna go to UV master, and I'm just gonna click on unwrap. Ta-da! That's it. If you're curious what it looks like flattened, click flatten, and it will show you. It actually flattens the model, so, but it's according to the So that's what the UV actually looks like. Pretty much.
And he uses most of the time, right?
Say what?
He uses most of the time?
Yeah. It's just way easier for me. It's way faster. Alright, so that guy's unwrapped. The gator's already unwrapped. The buttons, I'm going to go ahead and unwrap those. So it's going to take a second for those. Okay. Let's go ahead and do this guy. If you have any subdivisions, you need to drop them down to the lowest subdivision level to unwrap. So I'm going to go down, drop it down, and let's do unwrap again. There is an option, I believe, for unwrapping multiple tools at once. You can do that, but I've had issues with ZBrush crashing doing that. I don't know if they fixed that in 2020, but I think sometimes it just gets overloaded. It's like, I don't know what to do. It kind of feels that way. Let's get them pants. Only 15 million polys. So the unwrap ball is right here for if you want to unwrap everything. So his pants are unwrapped. And got the bottom buttons. Honestly, the buttons themselves probably need to be zero mesh because they're these 4 buttons are 153,000 faces. It's a little bit heavier than I would like to deal with, especially since they're buttons and they're tiny. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this being 153,000 faces, but yeah, so I'm probably going to have to fix that. So let's go ahead and get the collar out. Since that's only 12,000 faces, not even subdivided. So I'm going to go and export it out as a collar piece. And then let's go down to the jacket or the vest.
It doesn't matter what subdivision level you export it at?
It absolutely does. It will export at whatever subdivision level you have selected. So since I want to take this into Maya, I need to have it at the lowest subdivision level. Okay? So yes, it definitely does. Yeah. And then we'll do pants. Okay, so that's the important thing. Buttons, I'll deal with a little bit. I need to get my texture maps out, so I need to ramp those up to the highest subdivision level. And since this is already UV'd, I can go ahead and make my, ooh, are you visible? Oh, I don't like that. I'm gonna switch back over. Come on. Should should be able to just double click on you. Why aren't you doing it? I used to be able to just double click on the texture and it'll let me like deselect it and select another one. Maybe they changed that. It's been a while since I've done like character texturing because like with the way my film was, it was like 6 months of modeling and texturing characters and like a year and a half of animation and rendering. So it's kind of like a weird pattern. Pattern. I'm sorry, this is just the worst day ever. Alright, I just gotta fill this in real quick. Close enough.
Looks like there's another white spot.
I mean, if it's on, please tell me it's not another white spot. Don't do this.
It was, if you look through the hole, it was like on the inside.
I don't care about the inside. No one's gonna see the inside.
Isn't it mirrored from the surface? Or did
No.
it just paint on both sides?
It'll paint on both sides, but it might be a little bit thicker.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't care about that. I'm fine.
There was a part that was like right on the bottom edge too.
Oh man, Tristan, you're about to give me a heart attack, man. Ah, dang it. Okay, I gotta fix this. Gotta fix this. You know, the funny thing is, though, is I sculpted this as like a little trim piece. So like technically, there shouldn't even be this paisley color here. So like technically I should be painting this a different color. So, yeah. Okay. Whatever. I need that texture. Give me that sweet, sweet texture. Texture map. Create. New from Polypaint. Alright. Why are we doing that? That's not what I want. Okay, that's weird. That should not be happening. So I think there's an issue with the UV somewhere. So what I'm going to have to do is re-UV this guy. So let me go back into, relower this. I'm going to go to, is it plugin? I'm going to actually turn off symmetry and tell it to unwrap. With symmetry turned on, it's going to try to give me a symmetrical UV shell, but I think maybe sometimes trying to force a symmetrical one makes things worse. Okay, let's try that again. That's weird. Well, it's got to be a UV issue because as soon as I turn it off, it goes back to normal. Okay, let me come back to that. I want to get the pants out. So let's go back to pants. See if they give me a similar problem. Okay. Okay, pants look good. Don't see any issues. Okay, clone the texture over here, and then don't forget to flip it. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring in, basically make it an 8K map. Again, I can always shrink it down if I need to, but it's harder to make it a larger image. So I'm going to make it 8K. I'm going to export as a TIFF, put it into my source images, and we're going to do pants CMP for color map. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a normal map as well, because remember I got all these wonderful, I got all this detail, sculpted detail here that I want to bring through also. So I'm going to go into my normal mapping, normal map right here, adaptive, I'm going to turn that on, create normal map, and this is on the lowest subdivision level, so I can get that difference between the low res and the high res. So it'll take a second for that to work. You guys have any questions so far? Okay. Think Spotlight's kind of cool? Yeah, it is kind of neat. So what I'm going to do is I want to combine this with the with using Substance Painter. Because with Substance Painter we can do particulate painting on there, so I can put like dirt and grime in different places, because I think like if he's living like in a swamp, he might have like a little bit of dirt or whatever on the bottom of his pants. His skin, we're going to try to paint in some wear and tear areas where maybe like, you know, dirt or whatever is kind of like collecting in different places. And so that's really what's really good about that program, is we can do some realistic procedural texturing, which is pretty cool. I think it's going to take a minute. You guys want to take a break? Let's take a break.
Are you gonna eventually go back and like make the dress and the button a different color?
Yeah, actually my idea was, because I can do materials in Substance Painter, I would like to take those in and make them like metal. So, because I can get like specular mapping, and I can get specular and reflective and stuff like that. All these different maps I can get out of Substance for the buttons that I'm looking more for. That's what I want. What do you need me to? What do you need to record this for? You already got this down. See, you know what you're doing. We're good. All right. I got the vest out. The color map still didn't seem to want to work, so I don't know what the deal is with that. Pants though, they work just fine. And we got the collar out. Let's do. I think the teeth are already out. I'm pretty sure they've been UV'd. Tongue's already out. Body's already out. All eyes are already out. So I think we're good. I'm gonna go and save this, because actually I kind of dig it. Okay. All right. So you go and launch Substance, and so there's a couple things about Substance. I went ahead and opened it up. This is 2019, so I think they probably have like a newer version that's already out. Now, when you open it up, you're going to have a blank canvas. There's not going to be anything in here. We do have a three-dimensional world space that you basically move around in exactly the same as you would Maya. Okay, so right click, left click, middle mouse button, and then the Alt key will allow you to move around exactly the same. So when you open up, you're going to see the new project, File New, and then you'll hit File Select, and this is what will allow you to bring in your OBJ. Now, as far as I know, it will only allow you to bring in basically one file, which is kind of a bummer, because if you bring in the body, then that's basically the body, or you can bring in the vest and basically just have the vest. What I've found is a bit of a workaround to this issue by actually combining all of these objects together in Maya, and then I can bring all of those in as a single OBJ. The problem with that is that if you bring all those in, then their UV spaces get basically stacked together. So any texture painting that you put on top of it is going to be applied to all of those objects. Not particularly great. So what we'll need to do is we will need to provide material IDs for each individual object, so Substance Painter understands this, this is the vest, this is the collar, this is the body, these are the pants, these are the teeth. And it can separate each one of those out into a separate UV space, and therefore a separate color map. Okay? It's kind of weird, but just go with me on this. All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and open up Maya real quick, and we're going to import all those OBJs that we just made. Do keep in mind that anything you bring into Substance Painter does have to be UV'd prior to bringing it in. You're not able to UV stuff in Substance, so UV it in Maya before you bring it in. Okay? Okay. All right, let's go and dump a bunch of files in here. All right, so let's do body, collar, eye, pants, teeth, tongue, and vest. Oh, beautiful. Excellent. Okay. I do need to get the buttons. Let me address that real quick. So the buttons are, they're not terribly high res. They got a lot of faces. I get, there are 123,000 faces for all those buttons. And then the other buttons down here, that's 153,000 faces. So I guess they're not that bad. Screw it. We'll just bring them in as they are. We'll suffer the consequences. Alright, so I'm just going to UV them real quick. So I will unwrap that second set of buttons. So I really do want to bring them in. Say what?
The button looks cute.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a simple little sculpt. Okay. So we'll go and export out. Pants buttons, and then we will export out shirt buttons. We did UV the shirt buttons, right? I think we did. We'll find out. No, but I UV'd them. I think I UV'd them in this class, though, just like a few minutes ago. Okay. Alright, so let's go and bring these in as well. Pants buttons, shirt buttons. Okay, so there we go. Got all those. All right, cool. All right, so in order for me to assign material IDs, I need to basically have a shader group attached to each individual object. Right now, since they have no textures applied to them, they're all basically under default Lambert 1 that everything gets assigned to. Okay, so that means right now they all have the same material ID. If I change the color of Lambert 1, they all go to that same color. So what I'm going to need to do is go ahead and assign, let's do hypershade. Let's see. Where's that thing? Because it was just here, but it disappears. I gotta probably delete my preferences for it to come back. Alright, whatever. I can just add it from the right-click menu. Material, assign, favorite material, Lambert. Alright, so I'm gonna do that a few more times. G, 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 alright, so let's get all these teeth, not the tongue. G. I'm actually going to take the mesh and combine the teeth together. So now they're all just one mesh together. Yeah, let's do. Can you close the door for me? All right. And I don't think that's I don't think the eyeball has been actually UV'd either. No, so I actually do need to UV the eyeball real quick. Let's do automatic. Honestly, it really doesn't matter because like that's not even the eyeball mesh I'm going to use. The tongue, I believe, has been UV'd. No? Alright, let's just go and UV that real quick. Alright, automatic. And your teeth probably have been UV'd. There they are. But there's a lot of overlap here, so I'm going to need to go and select all the UVs. And I have an option to do a layout right here. And so it's going to it's telling me I have manifold geometry that needs to be fixed. So I'm going to tell it to fix, and now it's just laying everything out. So they're not actually overlapping each other, which is good. All right. All right, let's make sure we got that is definitely the reason why we had the issues. You see that UV right there? Now it's overlapping. That's why the color map wouldn't work. It does. But yeah, no, that's absolutely the screw up here of why we're not getting. So that needs to be fixed. That is not usable in any way. Like, that's nice. Look at that. That's a nice UV. Okay. Yeah, that shirt is, ugh, gross. Yeah, that needs to be fixed. Honestly, that's probably gonna have to be like a manual unwrap. Unfortunate, but that's probably what's gonna have to be. I mean, it's not impossible. Like, it's just a shirt. The tough part is gonna be it has an inside and an outside, so I'll have to select and cut those apart. But honestly, like, I want to get into Substance Painter, so I'm not going to waste my time with the vest right now. I'll just have to come back to it later. But that actually would be a good opportunity to show how to copy and paste UVs inside of ZBrush, since this does need to be fixed, and ZBrush isn't going to give me a good fix for it. So I will come back to that later.
Is there a way to manually do UVs in ZBrush?
Kind of, not really. what you can do is you can paint where you want seam lines to go, but ZBrush is kind of like a 12-year-old. It won't really listen sometimes. So supposedly, yes, you can. Maybe there's a workaround for that or a workflow that I'm not aware of. But I can kind of partially get it to follow what I want it to do. But honestly, I kind of just, if I can get it to lay out automatically, I'm fine and happy with that. But clearly, like with this, that's not usable. So I would just take this, in here and just do it manually. Kind of sucks, but that's how it is. All right, buttons. We good? Everyone's good? Everyone's happy? All right, so I'm gonna go and actually grab all my buttons and lay them out together because it feels like, they need to be just, I don't need like a whole bunch of, individual pieces for the buttons. I just need, one thing that can just be all my buttons. Let's take you and hide you since you're kind of useless right now. It's gonna be weird. He's gonna be shirtless, but he'll have a collar. Okay. All right, so I just grabbed all the buttons, and I'm gonna go to UV editor, and then I'm gonna go back to modify layout, and it should lay everything out for me. There we go. So now at least I can, put this all together as one piece, and then we'll do mesh, combine, and then just to make sure we all got, put a new Lambert on it. I'm gonna do the same thing.
So why are you putting a new Lambert?
Just to make sure they're all together and they have a Lambert that's just one shader group to it. So these will be the threads, mesh, combine, and then go to UV editor, and then layout again. I think I can do Control L. Yeah, there we go. So that's gonna be all my threads. Okay. Cool. So I think that's everything. So I need to go through and name the shader groups that these are actually attached to. So you'll have like where it says Lambert 2 and then body group, shape or whatever. So I'm going to go to Lambert 12 and just name it body lam. And I believe let me open up Hypershade. Okay. Yeah, so it's actually the shader group I need to rename. Come on. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so I'm going to do body shader group. The one that's going to be on the collar. Let's go and do this. That's Lambert 1, so I don't need that one. Shader group. Alright. Which one is this one? Select objects with material. That's going to be threads. Button threads. Shader group. I'm naming both of these because I'm pretty sure it's the shader group that needs to be renamed when I bring it in, but just in case I want to make sure at least this is properly named also. So tell you what, we can also just rename it in Substance. Let's just keep moving. Let's go ahead and just take all of this And I'm going to go ahead and go to Mesh. And actually, no, it's not combine. Let's go to File, Export Selection. So everything's UV'd. Everything's got a separate shader on it. And we're going to do OBJ. We'll do Louis, entire export. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and export them out. And hopefully everything should be able to be brought in rather easily. I'm a little concerned maybe we're going to have a lot of polys here that's going to slow down the system with the buttons here, but you know, let's just give it a shot. So see if it's done. New, select. Let's see if it's done. Okay, so I think it is done. All right, let's give it a shot and see. Okay. If we have any maps or anything we want to bring in, say from ZBrush or stuff that's already been painted, we can do that now. So I'm going to go to Add. I'm going to go to his Source Images folder, and I'm going to go and bring in Color Map, Displacement Map, his normal map, and let's do, I don't need the color I can bring in the color shifted pattern if I want to like repaint it. I'm going to also bring in his orange color map we did last class. I'm going to bring in the pants, color map, and really the vest. I don't need to bring in the vest normal map because like at this point it's pretty much useless. So I'm going to bring in all of these, and each one of these I can tell what I want to do with it. Yeah, actually, never mind. I think I'm just going to keep, yeah, so it should be fine. I'm going to click OK. I don't need to have the changes. Object. No object detected. Okay, there we go. All right, so here's Louis. And then since we gave everything different shader groups, everything came in with different names for the shader groups. Now the thing with this is we can turn these off and basically act as like object layers. Okay, so if we didn't do this and everything was just with one object, then we would be basically just be painting everything in one particular piece, which that just sounds horrible, just it coming out of my mouth. I don't want to do that. So anyway, so that's the reason why we're giving this all individual shader groups. So we can just real quickly just kind of name these. Buttons, that's eyeballs, that's tongue. What is this? Teeth. Collar, pants, shirt or vest, and then we have body and threads. Yeah, button threads. All right, so let's just kind of take a little walk around here and talk about the different stuff. So, as I mentioned before, this program is, it allows us to paint directly on the UVs, kind of like in Photoshop, but it does have a three-dimensional view, which we have right here. So, so the way that like we can kind of look at this is if I go over here, there's a little view options. We can go to a 3D or a 2D view, and we can see the actual UV layout for each of these objects, and you can actually paint directly on them. or you can paint directly on the model itself. So you kind of get, you know, an option to do either one. So that's pretty cool, I think. I usually will just go directly to a 3D view. I kind of don't really care about painting on the UV so much right now, but I do like painting on the model, so that's nice. We have options for mirroring right up here, so you can turn on symmetry. Your paintbrush options are up here, so you can do your size, flow, stroke opacity, and your spacing, so you can change that all right through there. You have different tools in here, so you can change up your paintbrush if you need to. You have eraser tools. Yeah, you have a bunch of different stuff like clone stamping, smudging, you know, color picking. All that's through here. I think this is actually a link, so you can just open up Photoshop directly and work on a texture if you need to, which is kind of cool if you want to use some of their stuff. You can do true layers inside of Substance, so we can add in like procedural materials and actually do like painted layers on top of that. So that's pretty cool. We have pre-made materials. So down here is our pre-made materials. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn everything off but the body. So we just have the body by itself. And I think the materials are kind of one of the strong points of this program. It's really kind of unique. Where is my layers? Layers right here. All right. So if you want to add in stuff for your layers, this is where you do it. So materials, like I said, we have all sorts of weird stuff we can put in. If you wanted to give him like an iron diamond look, you can do that. And it's just a pre-made thing. Now these materials have material properties of specular, normal, and bump mapping all at the same time. So by dragging and dropping, you're getting that added to it, which is pretty freaking cool. We can export these maps. This is the strength of it, is we can export those maps out of Substance and then use them in our program, in RenderMan. No, it'll give you a specular, and a lot of times it works really, really well, but you do need to play around with it a little bit. Do you have a question, Abdullah?
Yeah, and so let's say instead of using those, we use like moving our own, and then after we finish that, and like all those as textures, we would then take that and then put them on expected maps in mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the detail decided by the poly count when you ZBrush?
No, it's not. That's why this is stronger in a different way than ZBrush is, because this goes directly to the UV. So right now the UV is set to 4096 by 4096, which is about the highest we can go. So they do have the ability to go to 8K maps, but right now, since this is more orientated towards video games tend to use lower resolution maps, and so it is going to try to give us a 4K map, which in most instances will be good enough for most stuff. So yeah, so anyway, the texture set settings, we can actually change, you know, how we want the resolution to look. So if your computer is not running too well with this on, which I guarantee you for some of you, you're going to crash your computer with this, you can actually change the load capacity. This basically, it's offloading onto your GPU by changing the resolution of the actual map itself, which is kind of cool. Let's see. Say what?
I said you should put the human face one on it.
It's got to paint it.
I just thought that would look nice and terrifying.
It absolutely would. I've put it on stuff before, and it's really bizarre. Let me go and delete. There you go. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Let's delete that. Okay, so with the Diamond, if I go to my properties, I can change my UV projection so it's projecting directly onto the model, onto the UVs of the model. I can actually change that to a triplanar projection, and so it's going to project it kind of all around the model. So get like a little bit of a better projection than what we had before. So that's kind of cool. And then we can also change the scale. So if you want more of a repetition, that can be pretty nifty. Like, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's like super armored. But you know, you really kind of see how the lighting really kind of like reflects off the bump maps in the normal. Like, that's pretty neat. I like that. And then another cool thing is that because this has normal and bumping properties, when we add paint to it, that reacts to what's underneath it. So that will fill in like crevices in between the armor plate in here, which is kind of cool. So since we have the maps, let's go ahead and use those. So let's go and do that. We do need to set up what's basically our world space map for each of these objects in order for a lot of these materials to work properly. And so what that means is Substance will take a look at the object, and it will basically say, hey, this is like my up space, this is my down, left, right, front, and back. So it knows that if I spill like oil on top of Louis, it's going to drip down the body rather than like drip from front to back where it thinks gravity it should be. So we can basically inform it and tell it which direction it needs to be. So we need to kind of set up some of those and get them going. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my textures right here. So these are all my imported textures, and we can kind of go and start setting up some of this stuff. So as body normal map, we do already have. So I'm going to go to my texture set settings. I'm going to go and select my normal map, and I'm going to go and click on body normal map, and that will apply that normal map. So we'll go and get that kind of in here. And then we can do a texture map. So I'm going to go and actually do a new layer. So I'm actually going to, let's take just layer 1, and I should have a color option in here. I can actually just drop the map in. So I think base color I can just drop that on. Let's see if that'll apply. Doesn't seem to want to apply. Let me try a different layer. So I think I can do maybe a fill layer will give me what I want. Let's try a fill layer. There's different types of layers. Like there's paint layers, fill layers, material layers. Material layers are basically like smart materials, like down here. So they're already set up, pre-ready to go. Paint layers are going to be for you to like physically paint on the model. And then fill layers are basically like if you just want to fill like a single color or like a texture map or something like that in there. Let's bring back that texture. There it is. Can I get you in there? There we go. Some weird Charizard. Or we can do that other color. I kind of like this better. I'm going to stick with this. The normal map is actually inverted. So I think I need to flip that over. Let's see if I can get that to... That's kind of give me a little bit better reading. Scales look like they're actually punching up a little bit, but it's not enough. See if that works. No, it's still kind of looking a little wonky. Looks like it's kind of like dipping down. What I can try maybe is go into Photoshop and actually invert that normal map and see if that will fix it for me. Let's do body normal map. Our image mode. Let's do that layer. Yeah, that's not actually gonna fix it. Well, I mean, the normal map is functional, like, but I can flip it inside a RenderMan. I'm trying to see if I can flip it in Substance, because I've never really had a need to flip it before in Substance, but I kind of need to now. But anyway, let me just continue with this. Like, it's not what I really want, but I'm gonna look and see if I can figure out how to do it later. Anyway, texture set settings. So I need to, like I said, I need to do the world space maps. Basically, I need to go into baking my mesh maps in here so that I can get my world space set up. I can get some ambient occlusion maps and stuff like that in here. So anyway, I'm just going to go to bake mesh maps, and I can do basically just check off all the ones that I want. I'm just going to leave them all checked, honestly. Output size, you know, just higher resolution is going to give you better detail, but I'm not going to go to 80. I'm not going to go to 8K right now because I don't really need 8K. So I'm just going to leave it on 4K. Really, the big one is going to be world space. That's going to be the big one I need. Same thing with curvature, so that the procedurals know how to kind of like wrap around the model a little bit more effectively. So I'm going to go and click on bake. I'm just going to do the one for the body. You can do them all at the same time if you want to. It's just going to take a really long time. So I'm just going to do this one. Any questions at this point?
So, what is the purpose of baking the...
It's finding the world space, like the up direction, the down direction, so that if we put any of the procedural stuff on here, it's going to know how to react to the body. Because before, like if I tried to make it like rain water on top of his body, it might go in the wrong direction, or it may not react in the way it really should. So by baking these mesh maps, it will figure all of that out. So it'll end up reacting a little bit better. Procedurally, it will end up looking a little bit better. Okay. It's also going to make some maps like, it doesn't have it yet, but it'll be an ambient occlusion maps that can be added in. So areas where like the body is kind of getting a little bit closer, it'll kind of like allow shadowing in some of those areas, which is kind of useful. That's used a lot in video games, but you can use that in addition to like your textures to kind of create some of that effect. Can you let her in? Oh, she's gone. There we go. Heck is all that? Let's see. I wonder if that's the aim and occlusion map. Yeah, that was. I just turned it off. That was kind of acting a little wonky. All right. Yeah, so let me go back to layers. So like I said, fill layer, you can you know, add like colors or texture maps or whatever you want on there. So we'll say if I wanted to do another fill layer, I can click and add, and then maybe I want to add the base color from the orange one. And so if I wanted to maybe like blend both of these together, I could do let's say click here for blending, and maybe I want to like multiply it down, and you'll see that that kind of blends some of the oranges and reds onto the some of the areas of my green, of the green map, which is kind of interesting. So if you kind of want that, you know, these are all the same thing as what we have in Photoshop, so you can use them in any way you need to. Let's do maybe like an overlay, and then we have opacities, so you can change that if you need. That's kind of interesting. I mean, it's getting a little bit orange in there. It's kind of cool. All right. Let's see. What can we add on here? We got. So this is always the thing that seems to make you guys really enjoy it. Procedurals particles. Right here. Give a second. So particles, this is the reason why we did all that extra map making, is that we can add, you know, things like cracks, veins, puddles, whatever we want to the model. So maybe we want to do like a new layer. So I'm going to do a new layer added, and then with this, I can click on one of these brushes, and you'll see that they can procedurally go across the body. So let's figure out what color we want to do. So this layer we have a brush selected, which is going to be, let's do rain, and then we can change the brush size. You can do the flow, stroke opacity, etc., etc. Alignment, let's just keep it on UV. And then there's different settings and stuff you can mess around in here, like, you know, how far or how much you want it to spray, what direction you want it to go, how long you want the particles to live. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. Down here it has the base color selected as like my old texture maps. I don't really want that. Let's do kind of like a darker, maybe let's do something you can actually see. So let's do a bright red, and then I'm going to go in here, and I'm basically just going to go and spray blood, I guess, on top of. So that's kind of bizarre, but it's kind of cool. This is very intensive on the GPU, so just don't go too crazy with it. You can do, I think the organic one is kind of cool. You can, you'll see right here where we have like the material properties, color, metal, rough, normal, height. If we turn these on or off, it'll have an effect basically on how this is perceived on the material itself. So you'll see that kind of in areas where we have, say like maybe the metal, if I go down, turn metal up, it's going to get more of a sheeny, metallic-y look to it. And then in areas where I put that stroke, that's actually going to reflect in the material itself. So that's going to get a little extra reflective. So you'll see like this area right here, much more reactive to the light than the other area where I put the particle down that I did not have the metal actually turned on. So that's kind of cool. So you can kind of in a way paint like spec maps or areas where things might be wet or maybe a different material. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, same thing with, let's do height. So that's like a bump essentially. So you can go down or you can go up. So let's go up and let's do that. So now you got these worms crawling across the surface of the skin. So that's pretty cool. That might be a bit much. Right?
Why it reminds me of that little like kids program, kids painting program. You used to like paint in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
And then if you go down, give it a second. And you'll see that it carves in a little bit. I mean, it's not really changing the geometry at all, but it's changing the perception. It's changing what's rendering. Again, in a way that like a bump map or a spec map, or a bump map or a normal map would give us that information. And if you don't like it, you can delete it. Questions at this point? No? Okay. All right. So what we can do also is we can create maps. So I'm going to do a new layer, and this one is actually going to be procedurally masking various areas of the mesh. So I'm going to go and give it a, let's just again go with red, and we can go in and do right click, add a mask, and I'm going to go and do a black mask. A black mask is going to make it completely transparent, and so that means that wherever I go and paint, it's going to show through. And so a lot of times that's how I will add color to my objects. I won't necessarily do like a paint layer so much, is I might do like a complete fill layer and then mask it out and then bring it back in using my masking brushes. So I find like that's pretty effective, because then I can go back in and kind of edit it if I need to. So I do like that. Now, in addition to the masking, we can do generators. And generators can be procedural generators that allow us to kind of mask in areas that are based on like different procedures. So if I go and do like a dirt, what you'll see is that it will bring back in the red color based on the world map and positions, and it will basically have dirt kind of clump up in areas in reaction to the normal map and the geometry that's actually on the mesh, which is pretty cool. So you'll see like some of these areas right here, you'll see like some of the dirt following some of the darker areas. You'll see dirt kind of accumulating in these crevices right there. You can change the dirt level, so if you don't want as much, you can bring it down or bring it up, however you want. Which is pretty nifty. Grunge amount, you can change that as well. We do bring that up. So you can kind of see how that works on top of the other layers. And of course we can change how it blends onto the rest of the map, or the rest of the texture. Overlay maybe? So we get some hints in some different areas about where that dirt layer was. See, like right there. If you want to, you can also apply effects, like a filter. So the filter, we can select just a real, I mean there's a bunch of them, but kind of one that probably would be great would be like a blur, if you wanted to blur out something. So I can do just like a generic blur, and then that just gives me just something I can go in and just blur out a portion of that map that we just made. Alright. And then we can have it wrap around the model if we want. Alright. Any questions? Okay. Let's go ahead and maybe add in a couple things here. Let's do the buttons. So for them, I'm going to go ahead and grab a material. Let's do brass. I think that would look good for that guy. You also got a gold, which looks really nice as well. But I feel like he needs he definitely needs a brass. Let's go and add in another fill layer. And this one I'm going to add just a little bit of dirt to the model itself. So this one's going to be black. And then again I'm going to add in a black mask. Do another generator. And then I'm going to go and apply a new generator. Let's do an edge wear. Alright, so this one's turning completely black, probably because we didn't actually do any of the map baking for this. So let's actually go into the texture set settings, and I'm going to go and do bake mesh maps for this guy. So let's just go and bake buttons mesh maps, and see if this will change it up for us. Are you sleepy, Alex? Chase, are you trying to disappear in your coat?
That was stuck.
Texans don't buy winter coats for the outside, they buy winter coats for their classes. I remember at a Saturday at Sam event a couple years ago, I remember this one girl who walked in, and I think it was like March, so it had to be like maybe 50 degrees, 60 degrees outside, and she walked in with like this, she was a tiny little girl, but she walked in with like this really thick jacket on, with like the hood up, big fur lining on it, and like just, she looked like she was made for like the Midwest, like blizzard weather. Like she was just completely covered, like head to toe. But it was like and I'm standing there in like short sleeves, sandals. I don't know. It was funny. Come on and make that map. Go. It's only probably a million faces right now it's working through. What? Mm-hmm. I flew too close to the sun. I'm paying for the price. I will say that my one of my favorite materials in here is this gold, like silica pattern. It is just bonkers. It's really cool looking. No, it's really pretty though. What?
Keith just released a video of him eating everything at Whataburger.
Who?
Keith from Five Guys.
Really? So you want to take bets on like what he determines to be the best thing? Hot, sweet and spicy.
Probably, yeah.
Clearly, that's the best.
Or
But the buffalo chicken?
Yeah. He likes chicken, so.
That's true.
He loves chicken.
I think, yeah, if he eats that, I'd say that's probably the best one.
So.
Try Guys released a.
They had a Whataburger excess. Because they did one a while back, but they didn't eat the menu.
Right.
And I was literally talking about this to my roommate.
I hope. Well, he doesn't eat everything. He just eats like a couple bites. He's gonna feel horrible after that video. Like I feel horrible after I eat like one of the burgers.
Yeah, same day, same time. But he normally lives like a general healthy lifestyle.
Okay, so he just like splurges.
Yeah, basically. Okay.
He just loves eating everything.
What is this?
That's basically the video.
Turn off your Discord.
I don't know, I think he was like a song singer and he was like really mad that something happened.
Alright, maps are done. Let's see if it fixes anything. Come on, computer. Yay! It did. Look at that. It looks so much better. Look at all those faces. That's fine. We're all right. It does a little bit, yeah. All right. So fiberglass edge wear. Actually, that's probably not really what I wanted. Turn that off. That's what it looks like. That's what the edge wear. All right, I'm gonna add another generator to it. See what else we can get. Bum, 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 bum. I need, yeah, that's what I think I wanted, was that metal edge thing right there. There we go. That's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, that's kind of cool, actually. And then we can do maybe like a higher wear level. And the neat thing is, it's going to be different for like each of these buttons. Jesus, that's awful. That's just the worst. That's true. They're terrible. All right, I'm gonna change projection to triplanar. See if it gives me anything better. I like that. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Let's do the fill layer. Okay. All right. So that's kind of cool. I think it's probably a bit much, so let's take that down. Someone was like, yes. It's like, yes, thank God. That looked awful. But, you know, it kind of gives you a little more of like maybe a realistic look for the buttons, which is great. So that's cool. He only has the buttons. Let's add in his pants. He needs them pants. So, no, because belly buttons are mammals. They are reptiles. Reptiles are born in eggs. Although that makes me wonder, does platypuses have belly buttons? Because they're born in eggs, but they're mammals.
Everybody.
So they're not placental mammals, so they would not have a belly button. But on a lot of mammals, their belly buttons disappear. It's like you try to find your belly button for your dog.
Platypus do not have belly buttons.
Well, my point still stands.
According to the Great Google, they do not have belly buttons.
Okay. Platypuses don't?
They do not.
Okay. Probably platypi. Gonna put them pants on. Look at those pants. Pants, 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 pants.
Kangaroos don't have belly buttons either.
Because they're marsupials. Because they're, you know.
They're powerful.
That would actually make sense? Wait, are they non-placental? Actually, that would not make sense.
It says the umbilical cords fall off while they're in the pouch, and the scar never forms.
Huh.
They just heal their belly button.
Okay.
I guess it has something to do with the pouch.
All right. Anyway, so I got the, so let's go and do bake mesh maps again real quick for this. I don't need the normal. I don't need ambient occlusion. Let's leave world space. I don't really need world space normal, but anyway. Let's go and bake these real quick, and then we'll add on those texture maps.
It says marsupials are non-placental, but whales have belly buttons.
Hmm.
It's so strange.
Do dolphins have belly buttons?
They would.
How's a marsupial non-placental?
Is it all? Or
Oh.
is it just the platypus?
Do they not? Well, platypuses aren't marsupials. They are.
Weird.
They are weird, but there's a different. Like there's a subset, like echidnas and platypuses are, because they don't have the pouch, but they lay eggs.
It says a bandicoot is the only marsupial with a placenta.
A what?
Bandicoot, like Crash Bandicoot, has a belly button.
Those are actual animals?
Yes. Oh, that's so cute. Look at the baby. Oh.
Hmm.
Whoa.
Look at their belly button.
Look at what their belly button is like.
Crash
There's
Bandicoot.
a
Crash
Crash Bandicoot doesn't have a belly
Like
button.
Marty's.
Oh no, he does.
I looked up belly button and I was like, Crash Bandicoot? You want Crash Bandicoot's belly button? And I'm like, no, I don't want that.
I want that. It was like half of my last name.
Nope, it just shows Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, wow. Look at
they
belly.
They have a thing, GameStop, if you like buy something, they'll have this little display that's like, ask how you can get it for free. And they got a
All right.
Crash Bandicoot.
Amy Occlusion, you are drunk. I don't know what your problem is. All right, so we got the world space on here. Let's go ahead and put the color map. So let's do a fill layer, and then we need to get that texture. And that's going to be the pants color map. Pants. There we go. There we go. Base color. Aha!
Oh, that's nice.
Beautiful.
Looks a little plasticky.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Good point.
I feel like it would make the noise that a tarp makes.
Yes.
So what we can do is maybe add a little bit of dirt to this one. So let's do another fill. Again, I'm going to do... Let's actually find a noise. And I'm going to do this. So it's a black and white noise right here, kind of a splatter pattern. Splatter patterns. And then that, we are going to again add another generator. If you can't tell, I really like generators. I think they're cool. Let's do Dirt. Let's turn that dirt level down. Just a bit. That's quite a bit of dirt. And then let's go and take that and multiply that down. It is not coming through the way I was hoping. So let's go and take this, and I want to take that down to take down that quite a bit. Does this have a oh, it has a world space normal attached to it. I'll delete that off of there because I don't need that. It's already got a normal attached to the fill layer here. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Yeah. Alright. I don't really need metal on either of these. I'm actually going to turn it off because I need this to be a little bit more matte. And probably not rough either. So, looks a little bit better. Man, that is getting something on there. Take off the normal, take off the height. See what that gives me. It's really pulling. Where are we getting that information from? Yeah, I'm not really digging that. Let me try something else. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. Let's do a new fill layer. I'll turn off height, normal, rough, metal. I just want color. Let's do a brown so I can change the HSV values here. So give me something that looks a little brownish. Okay, we'll try that. We'll do the black mask again. Do another generator. And let's do okay. So that's more of what I was anticipating. So I'm going to bring up more of that dirt contrast. So that'll work. So you know, he's got himself some pants with some dirt on them. Alright, cool. Any questions so far, guys? Good? So that's really coming more from having like a normal in here. That's going to have it kind of reflecting a little bit. But also keep in mind, like a lot of this is going to be stuff that's just kind of procedurally driven, so we can change that in the final render when you take this back into Maya, and you can mess with the materials all you want. So this is not how it will look like exactly. You have full control over that. Absolutely. So yeah. All right, so let's say we're happy, we're ready to go ahead and start exporting some stuff out. What we can do is go to File, Export Textures, and we can export literally everything at once if we wanted to. So depending on what we have, we can actually tell it to export out certain maps, or we can just have it, we can check off what we want to export or not export. So we're kind of good there. We can change our document size to 4096 is going to be kind of default. If you want to try to get an 8192 map out, you can. Like I said, you can do it. It depends on the strength of the computer, the amount of memory you have, and sometimes it'll still crash on you when it's doing that. Just FYI. For something like the buttons that are really, really small, you probably don't need an 8K map for that. You probably need something like, a 2K or a 1K because they're very tiny. But the body, you probably would want an 8K map on it. The clothing, maybe a 4K for each piece. Whatever really fits it best. So it just kind of depends. But yeah, so if you're ready to go, it can do everything at once if you want. You can tell it where you want it to put it. By default, it tries to put it in the algorithmic folder. You guys are probably going to be like, where to go? It's not here. You got to make sure you set the actual folder for it to go into. So set your folder. And then you're going to also set your file type. So PNG or TIFF, either one of those is good to use. You can change the bits of the image. So if you want an 8, 16, or 32, usually I think 16 or 32 is going to be your best. It's going to just look the best. Probably I would leave, there's an option here for padding. The padding is going to be basically it takes the last color pixel of the color map at the edge of a UV shell, so where seam would show up, and it basically pads it out however many pixels you want from that UV shell. So if it's green, value, whatever green value would be, it's just going to pad that out by 30 or 40 pixels. So Dilation Infinite means that it's going to pad it out infinitely to the edge of the document, or it's going to pad it out until it meets another padding from another UV shell. This is useful because if your UV shell shifts at all, or if it changes position or something changes, if there's no padding, you're probably going to get like a little tiny white line around where the seam is going to show up. But with padding, it's going to basically hide that. So that's very, very useful. So I usually will just leave dilation or the padding on for every one of these. And then when you're ready to go, just go ahead and hit export, and it'll start exporting out all of the maps at that point. Okay?
Is there a way to make it to where everything's not all shiny?
You can change that when you get it into RenderMan. You can set up your materials however you want. So it's just giving you maps. You can change the values, just like we can with our materials, like we've been doing so far. Okay? But inside of the program, yeah, we can. A lot of this also kind of depends on the environment that we're in. So there are like environments we can set up. Let's do. Where is it? Environmental settings. So like we can actually turn on environment, and we can rotate. So you'll see how like light kind of reacts off of it. Um, and then like if you go like to the body, you can change like how your fill layer works. So if you have like a roughness, you can change that essentially. So let's go.
Does it export out that roughness?
Yeah, it'll give you a roughness map. So I'm just turning both of these off because you can go into the roughness and change it however you want. So you can use that if you need to. Same thing with metallic. If you want to change that, you can. So each one of these layers has these different roughness, metallic, normal mapping channels that you can apply stuff to. And then like the pants, we can change that also. Come on, pants. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's really just kind of what I already showed you. Any questions at this point, guys? Okay, because I think we're kind of just running out of time at this point. See, it's 10:30. Anything you want me to show you or go over?
Could we look at my photo texture?
Yeah. Yeah, we can look at those. You guys want to look at those for the rest of class? Sure, let's do that. All right, let me go ahead and end.